Once upon a time, there lived a man called Akin. Akin was the greatest physician in the entire village. Akin got the gift from his grandfather. His father was also a great physician as well. People come from different villages to seek for solution to their illness. Akin was known throughout the entire 6 neighboring villages, and the villagers will always sing his praise. Akin got married to Ngozi and they both had a child called Ebuka. Akin's dreams and ambition is to have a child who will take over his great healing talent. But Ebuka grew up to hate anything called local herbs. Akin wasn't happy about this as he was already aging and getting closer to his grave. On numerous occasions, he will call Ebuka to advise him to learn his skills of healing. But Ebuka was never interested. Ebuka was more interested in white-collar job and quick money jobs. He was not interested in moving around the forest looking for herbs. Akin was left frustrated in his effort on trying to convince Ebuka, his son, to take after him. Akin got tired in his effort and so he stopped disturbing him. But Aki had a plan. Aki was blessed with lots of gold. Aki decided to bury a vast amount of gold in a pit with the help of an hunter, knowing fully well that one day Ebuka will come for it as he was more interested in quick wealth. So Aki caused the gold that whoever sell the gold will die a mysterious death. Few years later, Obiangeli, the daughter of King Ibe, fell sick. All effort was made by all physicians in King Ibe's palace, but there was no solution. King Ibe had promised to give anyone who could heal his daughter 50 hectares of land and 6 bucks of gold. But all the physicians called all failed to heal his daughter. One day, one of King Ibe's servants told King Ibe that there is a man called Akin who could heal his daughter. King Ibe quickly ordered his servant to summon Akin immediately to his palace. King Ibe's servant rushed down to summon Aki, only to find people mourning in Akin's compound. To their greatest surprise, Akin was dead. Ebuka, on seeing the servants, quickly asked what they were looking for. The servant replied by saying, "We were asked to call Akin the physician. The princess had been sick for some months now, and the king had promised to give whoever that can heal the princess 50 hectares of land and 6 bucks of gold." Ebuka, on hearing the offer, quickly told the servant that he can heal the princess. So the servant ordered Ebuka to follow them. Ebuka followed the servant to the king's palace and ordered the king to bring forth the daughter. The king, on seeing Ebuka, was so confused, and he said, "I was expecting to see an elderly man." Then one of the servants in the palace said, "Akin, Ebuka's dad, is dead. So we decided to bring Ebuka as healing power is in their family." Ebuka, who wasn't interested in learning anything called herbs, got carried away by the offer the king presents, and so he decided to try his luck. Ebuka, who was so confused on what to do, started mixing different kinds of herbs together without even knowing their names or its effect and function, and gave the herbs to the king's daughter. Few minutes later, the king, who was outside waiting for a positive result, was called in, and to his greatest surprise, Obiageli, the princess, had kicked the bucket. Obiageli stopped breathing immediately as a result of the concoction mixed by Ebuka without knowing its effect. Ebuka left the king's palace with disappointment and regrets, and decided not to practice anything concerning herbs again, as he feels it wasn't his calling. Ebuka wasn't showing any interest in learning any craft, as he always wanted an easy life and quick money. Ebuka's mother, Ngozi, who wasn't happy about his situation, decided to enroll Ebuka in tailoring. After spending 3 years in the tailor's workshop, Ebuka couldn't stitch a pieces of clothes. Ngozi was frustrated. Out of anger, decided to enroll Ebuka in trade. After spending few years again, Ebuka couldn't learn it either. At last, the mother said, "Stay at home for a while," and that seems to suit him. As Ebuka wasn't willing to learn, he was more interested in quick success and wasn't willing to go through any stressful process to become successful. Ngozi, who was left frustrated at the only son she had, decided to ask Ebuka what he intended to do with his life, as he won't continue to be young forever, that very soon he would get married and have his own family. Ebuka's mother was more concerned about Ebuka's future, only for Ebuka to reply by saying, "Mom, I'm so happy about the effort you have invested in my life to see me get better. But mom, I want something that could fetch me quick money. Learning trade or herb take process of which I'm not interested in and is too stressful. I just want a quick success." After a deep thought, the mother decided to ask around the village, what kind of work can Ebuka do to make quick money? So the next day, four of their neighbors came to his mother and said, "Let your boy come along with us to cut firewood in the forest and sell. That will fetch him the quick money that he desires." Ebuka's mom, on hearing this, was so happy and decided to inform Ebuka about it. Ebuka was also happy as well, as it was an avenue for him to make quick money. So his mother decided to buy him a donkey. So the next day, Ebuka and his donkey went off with his neighbors, and they work very hard and make lots of money. This continues for 6 days, but on the seventh day, it rained heavily and they had to get under the rock to keep dry. Ebuka sat on the rock all alone playing with stones, and suddenly he began knocking the ground with it. To his surprise, the ground started making strange noises. He tried it again, and this time it brings forth a hollow sound. And he quickly called to his neighbors, saying, "There seems to be a hole under here." Upon hearing him knocking again, they decided to dig to see what was the cause of the sound. They kept digging. They had not gone very deep before they broke into a pit like a well, which was filled to the top with gold. They didn't do any firewood chopping that day, but they devoted their entire attention in digging out the gold, with the view of getting it all out as quick as possible. They told Ebuka to go down into the pit and dig out the gold while they put it in the bag. Ebuka went into the pit and was digging with a pickaxe and was sending up the gold, and they were putting it in the bag. They worked for 3 days and they were able to gather a huge vast of gold, of which Ebuka suggested to the neighbors that we need to sell them out as quick as possible to gold merchants. But his neighbors rebuked him by saying we need to get every pieces of gold in that pit out before selling it. Ebuka was so happy as his decision to make quick money was already paying off. It was the fourth day. They went to the cave again, and this time around, as usual, Ebuka was sent into the pit to dig out the gold. They worked for 6 hours, bringing out a huge vast of gold, of which Ebuka suggested that we need to see the gold merchant today to sell out all these bags of gold. But his neighbor rebuked him once again, saying we need to get every pieces of gold out before selling them out. Ebuka, who was already losing patience, had already calculated the things he was going to buy when he gets his share of the money, when the gold is finally sold. So it was the fifth day. There was little amount of gold left in the cave to be dug out. Ebuka was so happy and filled with joy as that was the final day he was going to get his share of the money. Ebuka woke up so early and was getting prepared to rush to the farm, but his neighbors had already gotten to the farm before Ebuka arrived. So they planned to bury Ebuka in the cave after Ebuka might have sent the last pieces of gold out of the cave. Ebuka got to the farm and discovered his four neighbors had arrived before him. They exchanged pleasantries and they ordered Ebuka into the cave to bring out the last pieces of gold. Ebuka quickly rushed into the cave and dug out the last pieces of gold and sent it up. And his neighbor refused to let down the rope for Ebuka to come out. Ebuka, out of curiosity and fear, started shouting for help and mercy. Quickly, the neighbors picked up shovel and closed the entrance, leaving Ebuka helpless inside the hole to die. The neighbors quickly ran and sold off the gold and also pocketed Ebuka's share of the money. Ebuka's mother was disheartened as it was getting dark and she has not seen Ebuka. She quickly ran to the neighbor's house to ask after Ebuka, and she was informed that they all separated in the forest in search for firewood. Maybe the lion has ate up Ebuka, one of the neighbors said. Ebuka's mother, on getting this news, quickly rushed to the forest but couldn't find any trace of Ebuka. The mother went home and cried all through the night, praying for Ebuka's arrival. Ebuka was left alone in the pit, crying and regretting his decision to chase quick wealth. And he kept praying to God for mercy, that if God delivered him, he would go back to his father's profession and devote his time into learning it. Suddenly, Ebuka saw a scorpion coming down from the top of the cave. He was so surprised. Where could a scorpion had come from? In a closed cave. There might be an opening elsewhere, Ebuka said. So he stood up and started searching for opening where the scorpion had entered the cave from. He searched around until he saw a light through a tiny crack, and he quickly took out his knife and dug the tiny crack. Ebuka kept on digging until he made a big hole big enough to pass through. Ebuka walked out looking tired and worn out, so he collapsed on the floor and slept off. An hunter saw him lying helpless and decided to take him home. Ebuka woke up seeing himself in a strange house, and he quickly asked, "Where am I?" And the hunter shouted, "Calm down." Ebuka raised up his head and saw an elderly man in an hunter's outfit. The man told Ebuka how he found him lying helpless in the forest and decided to bring him to his house for a shelter. Ebuka thanked the man and told him everything that has happened. The hunter, who was so happy about Ebuka's escape, the hunter told Ebuka that your father, Akin, once told me to help him bury a gold in the forest. Knowing fully well that the ends of destiny will one day bring it to it as you were more interested in quick wealth. Your father also placed a curse on the gold that whoever sells it will die a mysterious death. Ebuka thanked his gods that he didn't partake in the sales of the gold. The hunter further advised him by saying making fast money is dangerous, that fast money will drift you from moral values and belief system, that wanting success within a short time is not possible, that there are process to everything, that quick money would only lead to grief and pain. Ebuka's father had told him all these things in the past, but he wouldn't listen. Now he would have to learn the bitter way. The hunter assisted Ebuka home. Ebuka's mother, on sighting Ebuka from afar, was so happy and excited, and she thanked her gods for bringing Ebuka home safely. Ebuka told his mother everything that has happened. The mother replied by saying 2 days ago the neighbors died mysteriously. No one knew the cause of their death. Ebuka was left dumbfounded and shocked, but this time he was willing and ready to follow the process of life. Ebuka quickly rushed into his late father's room, picked up all his books and devote his time and energy into learning everything. His dad knew he will one day come back to his senses, so he left so many books for Ebuka. Ebuka studied and in no time became the greatest physician in the entire kingdom, even more greater than his dad and his grandfather.